I love that I'm making a video about how I made a jar to help me not be anxious, and my dark circles have never been worse. That's not makeup, that's not a lack of makeup, that's how bad my dark circles are. It helps, I promise. This is just me not sleeping. Hey, what's up you guys? It's Lilith. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are staying safe and clean and enjoying somewhat social distancing. I'm trying to take advantage of quarantine by making more content for you guys and more stuff for my TikTok. So hopefully you will see more stuff here soon. Today's video is another witchy content video, but this one's a little bit different. This is my anti-anxiety / kind of anti-depression spell jar. It is a little bit mixed up because when I first made it, it did kind of fall over. So it's all mixed up instead of in pretty layers like it's supposed to be. This jar is a spell jar that I created the recipe myself instead of getting it from another person's video or post or some sort of research. I did the research on the ingredients that went into this myself and made this one myself. I think so far it's been working pretty well. I've been less anxious. I have been pretty depressed because we're all stuck in quarantine, but this one was mostly focused on anxiety. I will probably end up making one for depression in the future, but this one's mostly for anxiety. Now, a disclaimer here, this is not a fix-all. Even though it is magic, it is not a magical fix-all. You do still have to put in the groundwork for something like this to work. So if you do have anxiety, you do still need to put in the groundwork of possibly taking a medication or seeking help from a therapist, psychiatrist, counselor, something to that degree. Trying to find healthy coping mechanisms, finding ways to make yourself feel better. This is just to kind of aid and assist in that process. This isn't just going to magically make your anxiety go away. You do still need to work at it. This is just kind of a helpful boost from the universe. So let's get started on the actual tutorial process. First of all, you can use any kind of bottle that you want. I personally got this bottle in a pack of 20 from Amazon. I really like this size. It's like nice and palm sized. I have had jars that are bigger than this and jars that are smaller than this. You can get the really tiny ones that are like charm sized from Hobby Lobby or Michael's, but they do have a little loop on the top and it is hard to get a lot of ingredient in them. I prefer this size. Now you can also get jars that don't have corks that are about this size, or you can get corked ones in this size of different shapes. They also have bigger or smaller ones. It's all about your needs and where you're taking it. This to me is a really good size because it's easy to carry around in a bag if I'm leaving the house, or if I want to keep it in my home, it's a good size to place pretty much anywhere. So before you ever try to make this, make sure that you are casting your circle before you are working. Every person has a different way of casting their circle, I have noticed. Some people are more in the broom closet and can't really cast their circle more physically with actual physical items to represent the elements like actual fire or feathers or pictures or anything. Like they can't do that, so it has to be more of a mental thing. Other people have the actual items, like feathers, athames, certain seasonings, flames, stuff like that. And then other people have a mesh of the two. I personally have a mesh of the two because I'm slightly in the broom closet, slightly not. So I do what I can at the time. Just make sure that before you do this, you cast your circle, and do not forget to close your circle when you're done with this, because the elements that you invite into your circle to help you with what you're doing could go a bit haywire and cause some sort of problem. So make sure you are closing out your circle properly, please, and thanking any sort of spirit guides or deities that may be helping you along the way. So if you look here, the very first ingredient that you see at the bottom is sea salt. I just use plain old coarse sea salt that you can get at the store. This is good for releasing negative energies and emotions. I also would like to put in, I don't do these in any particular order. I just do them in whatever order feels right. If that's how you feel and you have a certain order that either it's aesthetically pleasing or it feels right to you, then do that. This is just the order that I did them in. Now this next layer is going to be really hard to see, but if you see the purple bits in there, that is lavender. I was able to buy half a pound of lavender off of the internet. This is not even a dent in it. This is a jar I already had and just filled it up with a bunch of the lavender. The rest of it's still in a box. And I'm not even kidding when I say that it was the best purchase I ever made because I spent less than 20 bucks on it. And this is maybe like a 1/10 of the bag. Now the reason it looks so jumbled up in there is because right after I put in the ingredient that comes after this, I had accidentally poured too much of it, and I tried to get it out, so I was tipping over the thing. So there's more lavender in there than it looks. It's just kind of inside of the rest of the stuff, but there is plenty in there. The reason I added lavender is it is good for calming and purification. I really like to add lavender to anything that has to do with helping to keep me calm and happy and peaceful, because not only is it actually really good for that, and that's some of the actual qualities of lavender, but I personally just associate lavender not only in color and in smell, but just like in energy, with being calm and peaceful and relaxed. So that's something that's really good to put in this kind of thing. Okay, so the ingredient in here that went kind of haywire, looks like dirt, not dirt, it's coffee. Okay, the coffee, it's just coffee that I stole from my mom. This coffee is in here for two different reasons. One, because I've done research and found that coffee can be good for peace, but also because it's good for anything to do with energy, and I feel like I'm able to better fight off anxiety when not only am I more emotionally peaceful, but there's a level of energy in me that's like, I have the energy to fight this. Part of the reason I am often so overcome by anxiety is because my depression kind of weighs me down and makes me lose energy. So not only is this in here for the peace factor, but it's in there to give you the energy boost that's like, yes, I can do this. I can fight this. I'm gonna fight this today. All right, next up in there, if you can see it, those little green sprigs, those are bay leaves. Now, I have two separate things of bay leaves. These are the ones that are torn up. These are easier to get into smaller spell bottles like this, but I also have a jar of them where they're whole because they're good for writing on or for burning. But these are the torn up ones, and I took a couple of the smaller sprigs of the torn up bay leaves and put them in because this is really good for strength. And strength is something you really need when fighting something like anxiety, because those of you that have it, especially like me, where it's like very chronic and very on a regular basis, it's exhausting and it makes you feel very weak and very helpless. So what you really need is a sense of strength, and that kind of combines with the energy and peace factor of the coffee to be like, all right, I can do this. I am strong enough to battle against this. I can overpower this. I can cope with this. I can do this. Strength is a really, really big part of that. All right, you might have a little trouble seeing it, but you see the darker little sprigs in there that aren't the bay leaves? That's rosemary. Now, the only problem with this is that at the time when I made this, I had a rosemary plant. Since then, by some ungodly thing, my rosemary plant did not make it. I don't have the greenest of thumbs, and I accidentally overwatered the crap out of my rosemary. But when it was still green and thriving and healthy, that was when I pulled that off of there. So you can use fresh rosemary if you want or if you have access to it, but it is also perfectly fine to use dried rosemary that you can get at the store. The reason the rosemary is in there is it is good for healing, and it really helps to strengthen mental powers. So it'll really help you get into that mindset of, I can beat this, I'm okay, I can become calm from this. I am bigger and better than my anxiety. My anxiety does not control me, and this will really help you get a handle on that part of it. All right, if you can see it up at the top, the kind of burgundy purple looking stuff, those are dried rose petals. My rose petals are purple. These are my favorite kind of roses. Purple roses are actually, I think, pretty much my favorite flower, like period. So I associate a lot of happiness and peace and beautiful feelings with rose petals. But they also happen to be really good for healing and for protection, which is the kind of energy you want in something like this. If you look right there, you see the little clear bits right there? That is clear quartz, my friends. That is these bad boys. These can be found anywhere that you go looking for clear quartz. I personally wanted to buy mine in bulk, so you can get these kind of bad boys at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, but I'm sure if you search places to get crystal chips online, you can find it, but these are really good for amplification. They're a really good booster in stuff like this, and in something like this, I really, for me, wanted to be able to boost it up and, you know, be like, okay, yeah, this is big, I got this. Like, you just want to amplify that feeling. If you don't have this and there's another one that you would rather put in there, I would suggest amethyst, because it's very, very heavily associated with healing, and anxiety is something that requires a lot of nurturing and healing. Or I would probably suggest rose quartz, because that's really good for self-love, and part of dealing with anxiety and coping with anxiety is learning to love yourself and forgive yourself and work with yourself on this kind of thing. Now, if you notice by looking at the wax strippings, this puppy was sealed with a white candle. Your average chime candle. White is always good, especially when you don't have other colors. This is like a good substitute color. It's also the most accessible candle color I find. But I used this one on purpose because it is associated with relief and peace and purity. And I really wanted to add another element of just like peace and relief and kind of like a harmonious feeling onto the jar, because it is to help us kind of calm down and take control of a part of us that's usually very hard to take control of, and overcome it and deal with it and kind of learn to coexist with a peace. You know what I mean? Because it's important to learn that the anxiety is not in control of you. And that was part of the reason that I made this, because I wanted a physical manifestation of something that I could look at that would help to give me peace and strength, and to remember, okay, I've got this. Yeah, anxiety is scary and terrifying and very life-ruining, and it's painful, but it is something that I really want to try to overcome, and that I want to try to cope with in a healthy fashion. And for me, this helps. Remember, this is not a magical cure-all. This is not a substitute for therapy or medication or counseling. It is still a battle that you need to fight and that you need to cope with. But as long as you are setting down the basics, hopefully something like this can help you. This is not a guarantee promise that this is going to work for you. This is how I made mine. Mine works for me in my way and in my path and in my practice. Remember, before using spells and doing spell work, to do your research on the meanings of the herbs, candle colors, and stones that you may be using. Look at other people's ways of doing things and see if you can incorporate that into your own way and something that's comfortable for you. Do not forget to cast your own protections before and after doing the spell, and to keep safe during your work. Make sure to be kind and respectful to the elements that you are using and any deities or spirits or spirit guides that you may be working with yourself. I hope that you really enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Leave a comment down below about if you enjoyed this and if you think you're going to make something like this, or if you've made something like this before. What other kind of spell jars would you like to see me talk about and show you here? I have made others before. I've made some for self-love and protection and positivity, and even an offering jar for my deity that I work with. Please share this video with anyone that you think might like it. If you want to see more of me in the witchy sense, or even my cosplay videos, please follow my TikTok, which is linked below. I put a lot of shorter tutorials and witchy humor videos and educational videos on my TikTok that you can find below. It is also where you can find all of my cosplays to do with Harry Potter, Disney, and a lot of other stuff. If you would like to see pictures of some of my witchy supplies, such as books, crystals, spell jars, all that good stuff, please follow my Instagram, which is also linked below. And last but not least, please do not forget to follow my Twitter, again, linked below. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed here, it would mean the world to me. And if you want to know the next time that I upload, please press the little bell next to the subscribe button so that you can have push notifications turned on for the next time that I post, and every time that I post thereafter. I think that's about all that I have to say. Keep safe and healthy and sane during quarantine, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!